Imagine holding, like, absolute power over your worst enemy,
Oh, wow. Okay.
right? Like, they are entirely at your mercy. The crowd around you is just screaming for blood. The sword is drawn.
The tension there is, yeah, it's intense.
It is. And the easiest thing in the world, the most biologically satisfying thing to do in that exact moment is to strike.
Definitely. It's human nature.
Exactly. But what kind of person looks at that situation, feels all that adrenaline, actually possesses the absolute power to destroy, and then actively chooses to sheathe the sword?
That is the big question. It's a profound psychological pivot, really.
Welcome to today's deep dive, by the way, because today we are looking at an ancient philosophical blueprint that argues the ultimate display of power isn't domination,
No, it's not.
it's restraint. And we are so glad you're here with us to explore this.
We are stepping completely out of the modern conception of power. I mean, today, power is almost entirely external, right?
Yeah, completely outward.
But we're diving into a deeply esoteric framework where power is exclusively internal.
And we're getting that framework from a text that doesn't really deal in, like, light, breezy self-help.
Definitely not breezy.
No. We are opening chapter 27 of Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma.
Yes. For those who are familiar with esoteric or Masonic philosophy, you know this text is a labyrinth.
A total maze. But today, we are isolating a very specific, towering archetype within it. The Knight Commander of the Temple.
Right. And it's essential to understand exactly where we are in the architecture of this text.
Yeah, let's set the stage for that.
So if you were with us for the previous deep dive into chapter 26, we spent our time exploring the philosophical necessity of mercy and compassion.
Which was, a space of empathy. It was all about grace and sort of the softening of the human heart.
Exactly. But Pike is fundamentally a dualist. He understands that a structure built only of soft materials, well, it will just collapse under its own weight.
Right. I mean, mercy without a spine isn't virtue. It's just vulnerability.
Perfectly said.
Which is why the pendulum swings so violently in chapter 27. We are moving from the soft waters of compassion into this rigid, intensely structured forge.
It's a very abrupt shift. We are talking about the mechanics of discipline, intentional loyalty, and this almost terrifying commitment to higher principles.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the question driving this entire exploration,
Yeah.
the question the text essentially just corners you with, is this. What does it actually mean to commit yourself fully to a higher purpose?
That's the crux of it.
Right. Not to just tweet about it or, casually support it when it's convenient, but to embody it to the point where it dictates your every single action.
And the text forces a brutal self-audit right out of the gate. It strips away all the romanticism of that knight title.
Yeah, we're not talking about shining armor here.
No, this isn't about wearing medieval armor or playing out some historical fantasy. The Knight Commander is a psychological schematic for building like an unshakable human being.
An unshakable human being. I love that phrasing.
Thanks. And the core diagnostic question you really have to keep running in the background as we go through this. It's quite simple, but devastating. Are you committed or are you just interested?
Oh, wow. That distinction right there changes the entire calculus of human behavior.
It really does.
Because if you're just interested in a cause or a principle or a goal, well, you participate when the weather is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interest is totally conditional.
You act when the environment provides zero resistance.
But commitment is unconditional. If you are actually committed, you act regardless of the external friction.
You act when it costs you something.
Yes. And the transition from conditional interest to unconditional commitment is exactly what Pike maps out in this chapter.
It's a heavy transition.
It is. But he makes it very clear that you cannot even approach the concept of commitment until you have conquered the territory inside your own mind first.
You have to build the foundational mechanism.
Right. You have to lay the groundwork.
Which brings us to the bedrock of this entire philosophy. Discipline.
Ah, yes. Discipline.
But, I want to be careful here. Because discipline has been so commodified lately.
Oh, heavily. It's a buzzword now.
Right. We hear that word and immediately think of, like, a corporate grindset influencer shouting at us to wake up at 4 a.m. and take ice baths.
The whole hustle culture thing.
Exactly. It feels like a cage. We view it as this complete deprivation of joy.
We do, and that is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the concept actually means, especially within these esoteric traditions.
So what does it mean in this context?
Well, if we look at the etymology, the word discipline comes from the Latin dicere, which means to learn.
Oh, interesting. Not to punish.
Right.
Yeah.
It is not about punishment at all. It is about the active, structural organization of the mind.
Okay, structural organization.
The text positions discipline as the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of strength. It's the mechanism that isolates your actions from your emotions.
Isolating action from emotion. I mean, that is an incredibly difficult thing to do practically.
It's one of the hardest things a human can do.
How does the text say we actually achieve that? Because we aren't robots, right? We feel tired. We feel unmotivated.
We achieve it through the automation of behavior. And the text explicitly states this must be developed through daily effort.
Daily effort, like tending a garden or building a muscle.
Exactly. Let's look at the psychological mechanics of this. Human beings suffer from decision fatigue.
Oh, absolutely. By the end of the day, I can't even decide what's for dinner.
Right. So if every single morning you have to have a debate with yourself about whether you are going to uphold your principles or do the hard work or tell the truth, you will eventually lose that debate.
Because your willpower is just depleted.
Yes. Your willpower will deplete and entropy will take over. Human nature naturally defaults to the path of least resistance.
So relying on motivation is essentially like a structural flaw.
It's catastrophic because motivation is an emotion and emotions are weather.
Oh, that's good. Emotions are weather.
You cannot build a stable structure on weather. It changes constantly. What the daily effort of discipline does is bypass that emotional debate entirely.
Be making it automatic.
Right. By repeatedly enforcing a standard of behavior every single day, you create a neurological pathway that is fundamentally stronger than your passing moods.
You create a psychological moat around your core values.
Exactly.
I have a hard time buying that discipline is purely liberating, though.
Let's hear the pushback.
Well, if I lock myself into this rigid framework of behavior, where I must act a certain way regardless of how I feel, I am restricting my options, aren't I?
It feels that way, yes.
How is that not a cage?
Yeah.
Like, where is the freedom in actually doing that?
Because the alternative isn't freedom. The alternative is dependency.
Dependency on what?
Think about the Stoic philosophy that heavily influenced these esoteric texts. The Stoics argued that the person who simply follows their every desire and impulse is actually a slave to their passions.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
If your actions are entirely dictated by whatever urge, fear, or craving just happens to hit your brain in any given moment, you aren't free.
You're just reacting.
Right. You are a puppet being pulled by 1,000 different strings of biology and external conditioning.
So the lack of discipline is actually the cage. You're trapped by your own shifting chemistry.
Exactly. Discipline is the mechanism that cuts those strings.
That's a powerful image.
By mastering yourself, you earn the freedom to actually steer your life in a deliberate direction. It removes the chaotic dependency on just feeling like it.
Right, because the Knight Commander doesn't act courageously because he feels brave in that moment.
No, he acts courageously because he has disciplined himself to act properly regardless of the presence of fear.
Okay, that makes sense.
It creates a predictable internal environment, which is mathematically necessary if you want to survive a completely unpredictable external environment.
Okay, that makes the stakes much clearer.
Yeah.
Without that internal predictability, you just can't build anything else.
Nothing stable, anyway.
But discipline is just an engine, right? It's raw forward momentum.
Yes, exactly.
A highly disciplined person can use that engine to build a hospital, or they could use it to build a bomb.
The engine doesn't care.
Right. The engine doesn't care. So where does the steering wheel come from? How does the Knight Commander know where to point this, like, highly disciplined machinery?
This is where the text introduces the concept of loyalty.
Ah, loyalty.
But again, we have to strip away the modern baggage of the word. Pike is not talking about the kind of loyalty we see in mafia movies or the tribal loyalty of partisan politics.
That us versus them mentality.
Right. The text demands something infinitely more complex. It demands intentional loyalty to principle.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because I find the most friction in the source material right here.
Why is that?
Because loyalty has historically been used to justify, like, the worst atrocities in human history.
It absolutely has.
I was just following orders. I was loyal to my king, to my country, to my company. I mean, loyalty is often just a shield for moral cowardice.
You're hitting on the exact flaw that the text is actively trying to correct.
Okay.
What you are describing is blind allegiance. And blind allegiance is the complete outsourcing of your moral compass.
It's just following the crowd.
It requires zero discipline. It's totally passive. You hand your agency over to a leader or a group or an ideology, and you just say, tell me what is right, and I will do it.
It is a survival mechanism, really, designed to keep you safe within the herd.
Exactly.
It's loyalty based on convenience and self-preservation, because if I go against the group, I get exiled.
Precisely. But the Knight Commander archetype rejects blind allegiance entirely.
It has to.
Intentional loyalty, as defined here, means you do not outsource your morality. You insource it to a higher principle, like truth or justice or honor.
You attach it to the idea, not the person.
Right. And you remain loyal to that principle above all else, including above the leader.
Wow.
If the king commands you to violate the principle, intentional loyalty dictates that you defy the king.
Which means true loyalty requires an immense capacity for critical thinking.
Yes. Constant vigilance.
You have to constantly evaluate if the entity you're serving is still aligned with the principle you swore to.
Yes. And it requires the discipline we just talked about because intentional loyalty guarantees friction.
It's never the easy road.
Never. At some point, the principle you serve will come into direct conflict with your personal comfort, your financial security, or your social standing.
Let's map that out practically for everyone. How does that friction actually look in reality?
Let's use a modern example.
Yeah, because it's super easy to say I'm loyal to the truth when the truth is popular.
Exactly. Look at a corporate whistleblower.
Oh, great example.
Let's say you work for a pharmaceutical company and you discover the data for a new drug has been falsified to hide deadly side effects.
Okay, high stakes.
Blind allegiance or tribal loyalty says you keep your mouth shut. You protect the company, you protect your pension, and you protect the CEO who pays you.
You justify it by saying you are being loyal to your team.
Right. But the Knight Commander...
The Knight Commander does what?
Their loyalty is intentional and directed at the principle of human life and truth.
Right.
Upholding that principle means intentionally detonating their own career.
It means facing public ruin, legal battles, the hatred of their former colleagues.
Yes. Intentional loyalty requires a conscious choice to uphold a belief, specifically when it is dangerous to do so.
That's the real test.
If your loyalty never costs you anything, it isn't loyalty. It's just a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Wow. That is a brutally high standard. It means you must be willing to be the outcast. You must be willing to stand completely alone.
Which is exactly why the discipline must be perfectly forged first. You cannot withstand the crushing weight of social exile if your internal structure is weak.
But wait, I'm thinking about this if my loyalty is entirely internal. Like, if I am constantly evaluating things against my own personal understanding of high principles.
Yeah.
How does anyone know I'm actually committed and not just delusional?
The reality check.
I mean, I could justify almost any behavior in my own head and claim it's principled. That internal map is completely useless to the rest of the world without some kind of external audit, right?
Exactly. That internal map is purely theoretical until it is tested in physical reality.
Right.
And that brings us to the next, arguably most rigorous pillar in the source material, integrity.
Integrity. The text gives us a very specific operational definition of integrity here.
It does. It defines it as the strict, unwavering alignment between your words, your actions, and your beliefs.
And it emphasizes that consistency is the only metric that proves integrity. You have to act the exact same way, regardless of the circumstance.
That phrase right there, regardless of the circumstance, that is the crucible.
It makes me think of structural integrity in, like, engineering and metallurgy.
Oh, I like that analogy. Let's hear it.
So if an architect is designing a massive suspension bridge, they don't just care about what the steel cables look like sitting in the factory.
Right. They look fine in a warehouse.
Exactly. They care about how that specific alloy reacts to shear force, to torsion, to extreme compression, to, high winds and freezing temperature.
The real world stresses.
The steel has structural integrity if it maintains its fundamental composition under a massive load.
Yeah.
It doesn't suddenly turn into tin when the wind blows hard. It remains steel.
That's a perfect parallel. And if we apply that to the human psyche, human beings are constantly subjected to social and environmental compression.
Constantly.
We're subjected to the torsion of financial stress, the sheer force of peer pressure.
And this is where we see so many people warp.
Yes, they bend under the pressure.
Their internal beliefs do not match their external actions when the pressure changes. They're essentially hypocrites.
We see it all the time.
They advocate for a cause online to gain social currency, but in their private lives, they treat the people around them terribly.
Or they nod along with the toxic boss in the boardroom to protect their status, but then complain about the lack of ethics when they are safely at home.
Right. They lack structural integrity. because their composition changes entirely depending on who is in the room.
What you were describing is the psychological toll of cognitive dissonance.
It's exhausting.
It really is. When your beliefs point north, but your actions point south to appease the people around you, you create microscopic fractures in your own psyche.
Little cracks in the foundation.
Exactly. And over time, those fractures compound. The person who constantly changes their shape to fit the room eventually loses their core identity entirely.
Because there's nothing solid left.
Right. They don't know who they are anymore because they're just an amalgamation of everyone else's expectations.
So integrity isn't just like a moral imperative. It's a psychological necessity to prevent total collapse.
It is the only way to maintain a unified self.
The unified self.
The Knight Commander understands that hypocrisy is fatal to personal power. When your words, actions, and beliefs are perfectly aligned, you achieve a state of internal frictionlessness.
That sounds amazing, honestly. Frictionlessness.
You no longer have to spend immense amounts of energy remembering which lie you told to which person or which persona you need to adopt for which crowd.
You are simply the same entity in all weather.
Exactly.
You know, the ultimate test of, this is what I like to call the dark room test.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Right. What do you do when the lights are off, the doors are locked, and you are completely alone?
When nobody is watching.
When there's absolutely zero chance of ever being caught or, ever being crazed, does your action still align with your stated belief?
If the answer is yes, you possess integrity.
But if not?
If your adherence to a principle changes the moment the audience is removed, you do not possess principles. You possess public relations strategies.
You possess public relations strategies.
That is a haunting way to frame it.
It's harsh, but it's true.
But it rings incredibly true in an era where literally everything is performed for an audience.
The Knight Commander performs for no one. Their integrity is absolute because they understand that they are always watching themselves. You cannot escape your own audit.
Precisely. You are your own permanent audience.
Okay, let's step back and look at the, frankly, terrifyingly competent human being this blueprint is building.
It's quite a structure.
We have someone armed with daily, unshakable discipline. They possess intentional loyalty to high principles, meaning they cannot be bought or intimidated.
Right.
And their integrity is structurally sound. They do not warp under pressure. A person built with these materials generates an immense amount of personal power. They are a force of nature.
They are highly effective, deeply dangerous individuals. Because they are unified in their intent, they can reshape the reality around them.
And that is exactly where my alarm bells start ringing.
Naturally.
Because history is absolutely drenched in the blood of highly disciplined, effective, principled people who use their immense power to just crush everyone else.
Yes, the dark side of competence.
Right. I mean, the Romans were disciplined, the Crusaders were loyal. If you have all this power, how do you keep from becoming a tyrant?
That is the ultimate pitfall.
And this brings us to a massive paradigm shift in the text. The source material requires a complete redefinition of strength.
This is perhaps the most countercultural and esoterically profound point in the entire chapter.
So what does the text say strength actually is?
It explicitly states that true strength is not domination.
Wow. That flies in the face of almost everything we are taught.
It completely reverses the modern definition.
If you look at modern culture, we almost exclusively equate strength with dominance. We idolize the alpha.
We celebrate the loud and the forceful.
We think strength is the billionaire who hostile takeovers a rival company and fires thousands of people just to prove a point.
Right.
We think strength is the politician who publicly humiliates their opponent. We view strength as kinetic force, the ability to bend the world and the people in it to your will.
It's an adolescent understanding of power, really.
Adolescent. That's a good word for it.
Domination is fundamentally an illusion of strength. It is an attempt to control external forces, which is, by the laws of physics and psychology, inherently unstable and exhausting.
Walk me through the physics of that. Why is domination exhausting?
Okay, so if your strength relies entirely on holding someone else down, you must expend constant, unrelenting energy to keep them there.
Oh, because they're always trying to get up.
Exactly. Your power is entirely dependent on their subjugation. The tyrant is a slave to the rebellion.
They can never rest.
They must constantly monitor the people they oppress. They must constantly flex, constantly shout, constantly enforce their will.
It's a full-time job just maintaining the illusion.
Yes. And the moment the oppressed group gets stronger, or the moment the tyrant gets tired, the illusion of strength shatters entirely.
So the loud, domineering, aggressive leader is usually operating from a place of profound internal fragility.
Absolutely. They are projecting kinetic energy outward to mask internal chaos.
That makes so much sense.
If a person cannot control themselves, they will obsessively try to control everyone else.
So what is the alternative?
What the Knight Commander archetype argues is that true strength is not kinetic waste. It is potential energy.
Potential energy.
It is the absolute capacity for violence or destruction or domination, combined with the ironclad restraint to choose otherwise. True strength is internal responsibility.
Which brings us back to the hook we started with. The sword is drawn, the enemy is on the ground.
Right.
Domination says, strike, prove you are the master. True strength says, I have nothing to prove. I control my own capacity for destruction.
Having the sword sheathed, knowing with absolute certainty that you know how to use it, but choosing diplomacy.
Choosing purposeful action over an impulsive, ego-driven reaction.
Let's look at a micro example of this in everyday life.
Yeah, let's bring it down to the office level.
Someone insults you in a meeting, they attack your character publicly.
Okay, instantly my blood pressure is up.
Right. The weak response, the domination response, is to immediately strike back, to raise your voice, to insult them worse, to prove you are the dominant force in the room.
Which, I mean, feels pretty good in the moment. It satisfies the ego.
Oh, it feels great for about 5 seconds. But it proves you have no discipline.
Because you reacted.
You just allowed an external trigger someone else's words to entirely hijack your nervous system and dictate your behavior. You became their puppet.
Wow. When you put it like that.
The truly strong response, the restrained response, is to feel the heat of that anger, acknowledge it, and exercise the immense self-control to not react at all.
To pause.
To pause. To respond only in a way that serves your higher purpose, rather than serving your bruised ego.
You absorb the blow without warping. That requires structural integrity.
Precisely. Restraint is the empirical proof that you are the master of your own power.
Strength isn't what you can force others to do. It's what you can force yourself not to do.
That is exactly it.
But, I mean, holding that much potential energy without releasing it, that takes an unbelievable toll on a person.
That is not free.
Maintaining daily discipline, bearing the friction of intentional loyalty, refusing to warp under pressure, and constantly suppressing the biological urge to dominate. I mean, this is an incredibly demanding architecture to live inside.
It is exhausting just describing it.
Right. Which brings us to the economic reality of this philosophy. We have to talk about sacrifice.
The cost of doing business.
Yeah, you cannot forge this kind of character for free.
No, you cannot.
And the source material doesn't sugarcoat it at all. It states plainly that commitment inevitably requires sacrifice. They are inextricably linked.
You cannot have one without the other.
The text specifies 3 tangible currencies that the Knight Commander must continuously pay out: time, comfort, and immediate rewards.
The trifecta of modern desires.
The instruction is that you must prioritize long-term purpose over short-term gain.
It's the ultimate rejection of the modern era of instant gratification.
But I want to push back on the necessity of suffering here.
Go ahead.
Why does it have to hurt? Can't someone be deeply committed to a higher purpose, act with integrity, and just have a really comfortable, successful, easy time doing it?
It sounds nice, doesn't it?
It sounds ideal.
Yeah.
Why does sacrifice have to be mandatory? It feels almost, I don't know, masochistic.
It's not masochism, it's a mechanism of validation.
Okay, validation. Explain that.
Let's look at the etymology of the word sacrifice. It comes from the Latin sacer facere, which means to make holy or to make sacred.
To make sacred.
It is an alchemy. You take something common, like your biological desire to sleep in or your desire for money, and you willingly destroy it on the altar of a higher principle.
You're burning it as fuel.
Exactly. The reason it cannot be comfortable is because if a commitment requires absolutely no sacrifice of your time, no sacrifice of your comfort, and no delayed gratification,
Then what is it?
then it is mathematically indistinguishable from a preference.
Oh, a preference. Expand on that. The difference between a preference and a principle.
Well, you prefer to be honest when honesty is easy and makes you look good.
Right. It's convenient.
But if you tell the truth when you know it will get you fired, honesty has actually cost you something.
You've paid a price.
The sacrifice of your job is the undeniable physical proof that honesty is a principle you are committed to, not just a preference you happen to hold. Sacrifice is the receipt.
Sacrifice is the receipt. That's brilliant. The universe asks you to prove what you value, and the only currency it accepts is what you are willing to give up.
Exactly. Anyone can claim to possess the archetype of the Knight Commander.
Talk is so cheap.
Anyone can say they have discipline and loyalty. But action is expensive.
Yes, it is.
The deliberate forfeiture of immediate rewards, turning down the lucrative job that compromises your morals, giving up your free time to serve a cause that cannot pay you, that is the tangible evidence.
Evidence that you are serving a higher ideal and not just serving your own ego.
Yes.
Which finally bridges us to the culmination of this immense philosophical architecture.
The peak of the mountain.
Because if we stop right here, this just sounds like an ascetic, exhausting life.
It would be.
It sounds like an endless grind of discipline, painful loyalty, heavy restraint, and constant sacrifice. It sounds pretty miserable, to be honest.
If those virtues were ends in themselves, it would be thoroughly miserable. But they aren't ends.
What are they?
They are tools. They are the vehicle.
Right. Everything we have discussed today, the discipline, the integrity, the restraint, the sacrifice, these are merely the prerequisites required to reach the ultimate goal outlined in the text, living with a higher purpose.
This is where the blueprint reveals what all this heavy lifting has actually been building toward.
The ultimate goal, according to the source material, is a life guided by purpose, to live for something entirely greater than oneself.
Yes.
To contribute to a cause, to act with absolute intention, and to align every single action with meaning. The text states that this yields clear direction, meaningful action, and a lasting impact.
It's the transition from wandering aimlessly through the woods to finally marching with a compass.
And this brings the conversation directly back to you, the listener. It brings us back to the challenge the text laid out at the very beginning.
Are you committed or just interested?
Because what I find so profound here is the realization that lasting impact isn't accidental.
No, it's highly intentional.
We look at historical figures, Marcus Aurelius, Nelson Mandela, Joan of Arc, and we tend to mythologize them. Right?
We do. We strip away their humanity.
We think they were just struck by lightning, that greatness just sort of fell into their laps. But this text argues that lasting impact is systematically engineered.
This synthesizes into arguably the most vital takeaway of the entire deep dive.
Lay it on us.
We have an entire industry today built around helping people find their purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Billions of dollars.
People travel to ashrams, they change careers constantly, they read endless books trying to find their higher purpose, as if it is a lost set of keys hiding under a couch cushion.
As if purpose is something external just waiting for you to stumble over it.
Exactly. But the esoteric truth revealed by the Knight Commander archetype is that a higher purpose isn't something you stumble upon.
Okay.
It is something you become capable of fulfilling only after you have forged the vessel to carry it.
The vessel being your own character.
Yes. Think of a higher purpose like carrying water in the desert.
Oh, I like this.
The purpose is the water, life-saving, essential, profound. But if you have no discipline, your vessel is full of holes.
You'll lose it all.
If you lack intentional loyalty, your vessel cracks under the heat. If you lack integrity, the water becomes contaminated.
It becomes toxic.
And if you refuse to sacrifice, you will simply drop the vessel the moment it gets too heavy. You cannot carry the heavy water of purpose if you have not built a structurally sound vessel first.
Wow. So the purpose doesn't define you. The preparation makes you worthy of the purpose.
Exactly. The purpose doesn't magically bestow discipline upon you. Discipline makes you capable of executing the purpose.
You forge yourself through the daily, grueling mechanics we discussed today.
And once you have built that unbreakable structure, then you are finally strong enough to shoulder a higher purpose without collapsing under its weight.
That is an absolute paradigm shifter right there. You don't find your purpose, you forge yourself to be ready for it.
And that is why the blueprint of this chapter is so sequential and so unapologetically demanding. It is preparing the individual for the devastating weight of a truly meaningful life.
We have covered an immense, heavy landscape today.
We really have.
Let's trace the architecture of this blueprint one more time, just to solidify it.
Good idea.
The journey of the Knight Commander starts with the bedrock, discipline. That unglamorous daily automation of behavior that isolates our actions from our shifting emotions, buying us the freedom to actually move forward.
The psychological moat against entropy.
Yes, and upon that bedrock, we place intentional loyalty. Not the blind tribal allegiance of the herd, but the rigorous, critical choice to stand by our principles, even when it guarantees social or financial friction.
The willingness to stand alone.
Next, integrity provides the structural steel. It demands absolute consistency, ensuring our internal beliefs and external actions align perfectly, surviving the darkroom test without warping.
The absolute necessity of maintaining a unified self under pressure.
Then we completely redefine true strength. We discard the fragile, exhausting illusion of domination, recognizing that supreme power lies in restraint, responsibility, and keeping the sword sheathed.
Potential energy over kinetic waste.
To fuel this entire engine, we willingly accept the cost of sacrifice, trading short-term comfort for long-term meaning, providing the empirical receipt of our character.
Paying the toll.
And all of this culminates in a structural commitment that allows us to carry the heavy water of a higher purpose.
It is a formidable, almost intimidating path.
It really is.
But as the text implies, the path of least resistance leads nowhere. This is the architecture of lasting impact.
It's not for the faint of heart, but the blueprint is there, waiting for anyone willing to strike the anvil.
It's there for the taking.
Now, for those of you who've survived this intense philosophical workout, the source material offers a brilliant teaser for where we go next.
Oh, yes. The next step?
In the next phase of this esoteric journey, we will explore the archetype of the Knight of the Sun.
That is going to be quite a shift.
The focus will expand from this rigorous internal discipline into the external pursuit of enlightenment, infinite knowledge, and ultimate truth.
Moving from the fortification of the mind to the expansion of the mind, it will be fascinating to see how the disciplined vessel approaches the infinite.
I cannot wait to tear into that. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember the core truth we unpacked today. A truly meaningful life is not an accident. It is actively, deliberately, and sometimes painfully built.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to process.
Please do.
We've established that true strength requires restraint, and that commitment requires sacrificing your own comfort for a higher principle.
Right.
But consider this. What happens when two deeply disciplined individuals, both possessing unshakable integrity, both possessing immense restrained strength, find their respective higher purposes in direct, irreconcilable opposition? How does the Knight Commander navigate a world where the enemy across the battlefield believes with perfect discipline and perfect loyalty that they are the ones serving the ultimate good?
That is a terrifying and brilliant question.
Something to mull over in the dark room.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.